Welcome back, everyone, to the Record Straight podcast.
Hello.
Joining Anthony, Christina, Benny, Greg's here.
Episode 2.
Episode 2. We didn't think we were going to make it back for episode 2. The ratings are
Through
riveting.
the roof. Yeah. Thanks, Mum.
Yeah. Thanks, Dad, for tuning in. Today's episode is very important because we are touching base on one of my pet peeves as someone that has a community in the music industry with so many amazing artists, is the fact that people want to get managers. I get asked all the time, role play, right? I'm sitting at the BG community events and someone's like to me, Benny, I'm really excited. I've just got myself a manager, and the only thing is I find like they're not really doing much for me. I just had the deep breath of Anth. It is such a common thing that I get told all the time, and I'm sure you guys get told this too, or asked about representing people. And I think one thing I really want to uncover today is who is the team that is supposed to support an artist now, and about artist identity and how hard it actually is to create an artist identity that's true and authentic, and some ways that you can probably help refine that process a little bit. Someone like me, having managers plural, is important where I am at my current stage in my industry, because I've got things going on
100%.
in my life.
I think, we've spoken about this at length, and I speak to artists about this at length.
All the time.
I think the difference between someone like yourself and an independent act is you've got something to manage. You have multiple businesses, you have multiple teams under you, you have, multiple different things going on. So that delegation for you is really important to make sure that your time is actually most effective.
Yeah.
Whereas with an artist at an independent level, even at a major level, the reality is that no one needs a manager.
Nah.
No one. Right? When it comes to developing an artist project, artists should have two main priorities: making great music, communicating that music to an audience that gives a fuck.
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh.
Nothing else matters.
I like that. I think too, like, what is a manager going to do for you at this current point in time? Like for me, let's outline the roles of what a managers do. It's working with all of in my team, especially now. It's working with my brand collaborations, my sponsors, my corporate emceeing gigs. It's building the connection, because that's stuff I don't want to do and I don't have time to do because I need to be focusing on myself and the product. Totally. But the reason that you guys are here is because I have the income coming in to be able to fund you guys being a part of this. I have the consistency of having work all the time, and I want to be focusing on what I do best, and that's building these organizations and creating the communities and speaking from a level like that. So I personally think that having managers in this day and age, if you are doing under $50,000, $60,000 worth of music a year in corporate events, even if you're not, or if you're performing at more than 7, 8, 9 festivals, I think it's completely pointless. Yeah,
I think the way that we could define what a manager is, and I think the way that Chris generally does it is really good, is that if the artist thinks of themselves as a business, the manager is the CEO.
Yeah.
So it's their job to delegate between booking agents who handle all the shows, which we'll get into, labels, publishing, sync and licensing, merchandise, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
But if there is none of that, and there is no income coming in, well, then there's no incentive, and there's actually no job title. Like, there's no job
correct for the person to do.
Essentially. The other thing that I think is really important, and I want to draw from my experience as being an artist here, is that, I'm lucky enough to be able to see it from both sides. And I think that, from a management perspective, it's really difficult. Like, the management kind of foundation particularly within Australia, like financially, a manager earns 15% of an artist's earnings, depending on what the deal is.
Some 30.
Some are 30s. Yeah. Let's not get into, like, it's Australian standard to earn 15 to 25%.
Yeah.
Any more than that's highway robbery, to be honest, in my opinion. But if we look at it from an independent level, where artists are not thinking about this, where they should, because they are a business at the end of the day, if it's hard enough to break even, let alone make money at a show, as we all know, and you're earning 0.003 cents on Spotify through royalties.
So much money.
Like, you're then expecting a manager to take 15% of nothing.
Yeah.
And, that's when a lot of artists feel like they're getting shelved because their artists aren't doing, artist managers aren't doing enough work for them. But the reality is that manager probably needs to feed their family and take on other work.
They are getting shelved.
They are getting shelved because, the managers have any other priorities. So I think it's just really important to see it from every aspect. And I think we're in a situation right now where everything is available. We have so many free resources to be able to go and have an artist look them up on Google and actually have a developed, sustainable project on their own without having to give a 15% to a manager.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit about the hard work. I mean, you find those you find those resources and the research takes a little bit of work. And then to actually put that into place, artists need to have set structures in their personal lives, in their creative lives, to be able to actually want to put the time and effort into their administration or finding new opportunities. I think that's where a lot of artists want managers to be able to do that. But
they don't do that.
And they don't. They find opportunity. I mean, our whole job for you is to just manage what you've already put together and to find you new opportunities so you can grow further.
And for those people watching too, for me, when I brought these guys on and still do, you're also being paid before you take in, like the relationship varies because you're getting paid up front to do the work to reap the benefits later, where as a manager you can't expect someone in this day and age now. We're gone are the days where someone will be like, I want to manage you because I can take you places, and fair enough, take the cut. But don't expect to go to a manager now and be like, I want to get here, and you can take commission, but I'm not going to give you any money up front. So it's a gamble. People don't want to take that risk.
I'm not going to say any names, but we've literally had an artist say to us, I'm happy to work with you, but we're going to work for free until you guys do something.
It wasn't even that. He said, we worked, on a trial basis 3 months, and we were like, we want to manage you. And then at the end of the 3 months, he was like, yeah, you can keep working, but I'm not going to pay you. I'm not going to give you my 15%. And we were like, so you want us to work for free to find you an opportunity? He's like, yeah. We were like, cool. That's not how this works. And I think a lot of artists are in that mindset where they want artist managers, but there is just nowhere to compensate them. And really, it's not about the financial all that much. I mean, it is, but
people have to work.
You have to,
and like,
it's a job.
Life has to keep going.
Yeah, totally. But it's also about artist expectation. Like they, if they're not going to do the work themselves, why would they expect someone else to work for them?
And no one will truly care as much as you do.
No, absolutely not.
That's one of our things. It's like, we can't care more about your artist project than you care. It's like, because then at what point does this develop further? It's like, what you said before, like one of my pet peeves is when artists come up to me at a BG community event and say, I want a manager. It's like, well, what do you, like, why?
Yeah. What are you doing to show that you need someone that needs to manage you? Like, how much work are you putting in to your project? There's so many incredible artists that I know, indie artists, like the Renee Nakari, the Tom Nether. There's a girl called Hi, I'm Bex on Instagram that I love watching.
Rebecca.
Bex.
We love Bex.
Oh, do you? Oh,
yeah, we've worked with
she's
her.
awesome.
But these, and Kitty Ray,
Yeah.
and
Connor and Oscar.
Connor and
Mystico.
Mystico.
Yeah.
There's so many people that, like, there's so many more. To shout out to all the people that who they know who they are, that don't have managers. Some maybe do now because they're starting to get consistent work. Again, there's the current running theme. But they are out there putting posters up on signboards. They are connecting every bloody music festival. They are investing their own cash in, not expecting the return because they're building their artist profile. And I really admire that.
Totally.
100%.
Totally.
I think at the end of the day, and this is every conversation that I've ever had with an independent act, always comes back down to two things: creative, communication.
Yeah.
That's it. Nothing matters. Like developing a job and developing sustainability. And even for you, it's the same thing. We create what Futuration is and what that looks like, and then we work out how to communicate that in the best way. We do it at Palms, sponsorship, all of that. But it all comes back to those two pillars.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think maybe we should talk about how artists get to the point where they maybe need management. Should we
100%.
build an audience?
So let's just say then, I mean, as an independent artist, like, let's just say they're coming in, and I think there's two types of people here. There's the artist that comes in that has a bit of business sense, that's willing to really, 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 really give it a crack.
Yeah.
And then there's the artist that comes in with no business sense, but is an incredible artist.
Very creative.
So which one are we going to go with for starters? Are we going to go with the artist that is incredibly creative but has no business, or one that has vice versa?
Well, I think
the words. Vice versa.
we get on a podcast, we can't speak English. This is.
Do we go with someone that has maybe that knows that they need to level up on their business game, maybe doesn't have the skills yet? How do they build that artist profile, and how do they build that team around them?
I think for both, it comes down to process.
Yeah.
It's like
The structures are fairly similar, aren't
yeah,
they?
the structures are still going to be the same. What's different is the resources that are available.
Yeah. So let's go through structure then.
Okay. Well, I guess first and foremost, depending on where you start, but it's basically about creating your own artist identity and brand and what seems and feels authentic to you.
Yeah.
Usually we ask, when we talk to artists, we ask them to find their 3 pillars that they're going to carry in their music, in their creative endeavors, in their shows, in their social media.
Yeah.
And all of that kind of funnels out into their communication as well. So it might be that they have one that is music focused. So for an artist, it might be that they play guitar.
Yep.
And so that is one of their pillars. And then it's, they might love to surf.
Yep.
And then they have a business.
Yep.
And then those 3 pillars become their kind of identifying factors and what feels authentic to them. So then they communicate that into their social media, into their gig opportunities, into their press releases, into their media, into their industry.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's where it all starts.
To dive into that further then, how does an artist tap into that and find that? So what sort of resources are there for them to be able to go, all right, like for me, I know that I went to a brand building course, but then work with you guys too that helped me go, only as of recent, it's taken me like 10 years to figure out exactly how I align my brand, but it's community builder, experience producer, and personality. So for me, my brand pillars are, community, kindness, and being bold and having fun, right? So I think that's only taken me as of now to dive into that and actually understand. So how does one do that?
I think for artists, it's a little bit different because no one artist is the same. So it's not like, and that's why there's no real uni courses that are meaningful when it comes to this space, because everyone's different in terms of the way that they develop. I think it always comes back to the creative.
Yeah.
It's like, your project is a reflection of what you're putting out there in terms of your audio.
Yeah. So what are you gravitating towards in terms of the songs that you write and the genre that you have?
Yeah.
And the feel, it's an authentic thing. So it's going to come down to who are you as a person?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how are you going to communicate that?
And then off the back of that, I think it's really then about, okay, we've got that and we've got that little piece.
You built your personality as a sense, yeah.
And that will always change.
Yeah.
So as the catalog develops and as the person develops, the catalog will change, the pillars will change, and that's the maturity of an artist project as it develops. And I think that's one major thing that a lot of artists don't think about. It's like, if this is what I am, then this is what I am forever. And it's not that at all.
And it's important to showcase that through your media too, because people love being on the journey of change and growth. And I think some artists go, no, I'm gonna shelf these things. I'm gonna archive this. People love going back through and seeing your development.
Yeah,
absolutely.
No one cares about the aesthetic.
No.
Like, I think, and that goes into the next thing. It's like, once we have that, it's how do we meaningfully communicate this to someone who cares or who is likely to care?
Yeah.
And how do we do that in the best way? Now, like, there's multiple ways that we can talk about that, like how we do it in the digital sphere, whether it's DSPs, search engines, or socials.
Talk me through that. DSP, what's a DSP or search?
So DSP is a digital streaming platform. So a DSP is things like Spotify, Apple, Tidal, Deezer, YouTube Music, things like that. And then you've got your search engines, which are obviously Google. I would classify YouTube as a search engine, to be honest, not a social media. And then obviously your socials, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook,
LinkedIn.
et cetera. LinkedIn.
For me, it's amazing, but
Mate,
some
LinkedIn.
artists, you're a bit of a celebrity on
I'm a celebrity on LinkedIn. Yeah, I know.
We're some celebrities.
I call
Anthony's
myself an
a celebrity.
influencer on LinkedIn. I feel like I'm TikTok's actually starting to really live for us.
Yeah.
This is a subtle plug for me on TikTok.
Make sure you check it out.
Check him out.
We're generating some really, really good discussion on TikTok about some different things relating to the topic that we're talking
And
about.
it's all free.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
Watch it, gather that information.
Yeah. Even the like, and then that all spouts off, like, what gets the most engagement on then spouts into our article series, which we post once a month for free on our website.
Again, free content. Get into it.
But that's essentially the journey, right? We understand what we are as a business, what we want to communicate. We then communicate it to people who are likely to care, and obviously optimize through DSPs, through socials, through through
Search
search engines, and then we elevate that in the way that we do it. A lot of what we say is the same. A lot of what an artist is going to communicate is going to be the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Right. But it's how we're doing it. A lot of artists go, well, I'm posting all of this content. I'm posting 50 reels a day and, trying to be Gary Vee and doing all this stuff. And all of that stuff is great. But how are our audience using the platform?
Yeah.
That's what's important.
I think then once you get a good grasp on that and you get a good grasp on your socials and your communication and your audiences, who they actually are, then it's about leveraging that to further build within the industry. So if it is a manager that you would want, you got to work hard. You got to release those singles and those EPs and those albums, just depending on where you are in your journey. And you communicate that and you build and you continue. And as you grow, industry will inevitably look into you, and then you go and kind of collaborate from there.
And take those opportunities too. I mean, there are so many ways for you to get that next step in the industry and to grow and to build that portfolio. And some ways, once you've built that portfolio, once you've used your search engines to get there, you are leveraging yourself. Then it's about tangible actions.
Absolutely. Join a networking,
100%.
like the BG community.
Network with other artists, collaborate. What are some ways that, like, for me, I love hard marketing. It's one of my favorite things still, and I don't think it's out of fashion. I think there's formats that are pointless.
Yeah.
But I think for me, like, networking nights are the best way, whether that's like, there are so many networking opportunities across Melbourne and Australia. It's the best way to really connect with your fans, to followers, to create new fans, to create community and connection. And then collaboration, live videos, putting, going to every cafe and being like, hey, this is me. I want to perform here. I want to do this. I want to do this. It's that hard marketing of, like, you as a person, you are the brand. You need to be putting the brand in environments that the brand can then activate.
I think it's then as well, like professional development, like we speak to a lot of artists that kind of go, well, I don't want to play these pub gigs, or I don't want to play these, cover gigs where I'm not playing my own stuff. And it's like, hang on, let's use this as an opportunity to, number one, get some money into the project, because they're really high paying gigs generally.
All depends.
All depends. But, most of the time you're going to get
Well,
more.
you're getting something. You're not getting 0.003 cents a stream.
Yeah. And then secondary to that, you're understanding front and back of house. You're understanding how to read a room, so many different things.
And you're just developing your chops as a performer. A lot of artists actually need, they have excellent songwriting skills and they have excellent studio mannerisms and everything like that. And then they go onto a stage and it's just... They're not performers.
Yeah,
they need a bit of help.
There's one individual called Jay Verse who actually we gave an invite to Futuration. This kid killing the game.
He did the thing with Shaq and Kid Leroy.
But do you know what I mean? But do you know why he did that? Is because he takes his speaker and he goes out and genuinely, like, raps to every single celebrity. He finds them and he gets his speaker and he just puts himself in that position, and it doesn't get handed to him. Like, I saw some comments, people like, oh, who set that up for you? He's like, no, I just, like, he went there and did it. And that's the, he now, I think, has management or representation because he's actively starting to get lots of gigs now, because he is the one paving him and putting his, he's the putting himself where he needs to be.
It's a lot of courage.
It's
building,
scary.
and it's so scary. Building an artist project, building a personality, and your businesses and our business. I mean, it for anyone to develop where they want to go, it needs a bunch of courage to move forward. A bunch of courage and a bunch of hard work. I mean, I don't want to, like, bring it all back to me, but when we first started, I didn't just get a job at One Love. I emailed Frank and Ant. Shout out.
We love them.
Yeah, we love Frank and Ant.
Every day for 3 months. What about now? Can I come in now? You're looking for someone still, please, can I come?
I don't think it was every day.
It was basically every day. And then they were like, God, just come in. Like, just shush and come in. And I'm not telling people to spam who they want, and artists, but artists need to take that step, like Jay Verse, like anybody, like you. I mean, you were knocking down doors to get any.
I always said to people, I was always like, as an individual, every opportunity I paid for other people, I've had to pay for myself first.
Absolutely.
And that's taken, like, guts, because so many people will shelf you, will think you're absolute crazy, will be like, lol, like, I don't want to talk to this guy, like, he's strange and weird. But you have to be that person, and you have to not care about what anyone else thinks. And that's something that I still struggle to deal with. And I think any regular random, like every person on the planet struggles to deal with the fact that, you know what, there's lots of people that aren't going to like you or going to think you're stupid, but it's that percentage of audience and people that you start to become a light in their life and you become an inspiration. They're the people and the audience that you should be focusing on.
Definitely.
100%. I think like the other thing that I think that we should really touch on that's really important is vanity and ego. When that comes,
a whole other.
We could do a whole episode on this, and I think we
one.
should do a whole episode on this. But I think in terms of development, it's really important because we've kind of really highlighted the main parts. It's develop your creative, develop the pillars that communicate that creative, and then get deep into the process, like the processes of developing that, networking,
Putting
socials,
yourself out
etc.
there.
Putting yourself out there, whatever. I think where a lot of artists go wrong is they're looking at. I'm going to mention Taylor Swift because she's everywhere at the moment.
Yeah,
but
we love Tay.
we love Tay. We love Travis Kelce also. I got told I look like Travis Kelce the other day as well.
That's why I
Oh,
mentioned it. That's why.
so, unreal. Wish I had his money. But like, you know, the local act would look at Taylor Swift and go, you know, I need to get X amount of millions of streams to be able to develop to this point, and it is just not the case.
Yeah.
You know, what Taylor had to do or what those artists had to do 10 years ago to be able to develop into the space they are now is developing awareness, not developing audience.
Yeah.
Right? Where the music industry is going, we're developing to a point where, you know, you can have 100 fans and meaningfully develop a sustainable career doing what you love and build awareness off the back of that.
Community.
Yeah.
That's your community. That's how you.
And
do it.
I can touch on this too, because I think one thing I do really well is the fact that I don't have the biggest physical following, but when it comes to tangibly getting people in a room,
It's meaningful.
Oh, man.
I can feel a space because the people that are following me, I connect with and I really care for, and I bring them a part of my journey. So when it comes to being able to fill up a room or having a gig, they're the first people that will come and support me because
Absolutely.
I really care about those genuine connections. I don't go, oh look, I have so many followers, because I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, compared to some people, they might see that.
But they care. They're invested in your journey,
Yeah,
which means they're
and you
invested
make
in your
them feel
project.
valued. I think that's the biggest thing with connection. I mean, you make every single person who comes to your BG community or comes to your show feel as though they're your best friend.
And because we're in this industry, that we're all in this together.
Yeah, absolutely.
We bring it back to artists. How many times have you scrolled through Instagram, saw a really glossy press picture or a cover art and gone, that's a really good press image, I'm going to click the link and listen to their song? It never fucking happens.
No.
Never.
If I see a reel or someone talking straight from the heart or having fun or just being themselves, I'm like, actually, I want to dive into this person because I'm so
Absolutely.
much more invested.
But it's not even that one time. You're probably exposed to them 6, 7, 8, 9 times
100%.
before you even make that decision. But then by making that decision, you are infinitely more likely to buy a ticket to their show.
100%.
Absolutely.
Infinitely more likely to listen to the rest of their catalog. You know, it is so important to develop over a longer period of time as it is to just go, new song out now, please listen. Here's my sexy press pic.
Yeah.
Because it means nothing.
We were doing a talk with Arsom, shout to Jenna recently, and it was basically, we put it in a way where it was, you have to build exposure of your brand and your project, build awareness across all of your platforms, build engagement, and then build a following. So that's like kind of the steps to go through. And I think that, I mean, building an artist team, for example, which is how we started this convo, it's kind of like your artist team comes in the engagement phase. Like if you're still at the exposure phase, let's not jump the gun. You know, do all the work to get through all those processes.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I guess, who would you say the artist team need to be? Who does that consist of?
I think it breaks down into various different avenues depending on where the artist wants to go.
Yeah, the goals. For sure.
The goals for sure. But as a brief kind of rundown, booking agents handle everything live.
Yep.
So essentially what booking agents will do is they will source you opportunities to play live.
Yep.
Mostly your own stuff.
Mostly hard ticket.
But to be able to get those booking agents, though, what do you have to actively do to be able to have those?
need to be able to sell
you can't rock up. like, whether it's for a corporate gig agency, obviously need to have the personality, the performance. There needs to be a little bit of polish and
Totally.
cleanliness on that brand. Are you rocking up to them with an EPK? Like, what are you doing to get those booking agents?
With hard tickets and with the corporates, they're different. With corporates, it's very much what you just said. So being able to read a room, being able to perform to a brief is going to be really important, and being able to expose that in an EPK is really important.
I think just also quickly, yes, but it's also in the point of getting to an EPK and all of those things, you have to build your connections.
Yeah.
So we tell artists all the time, no matter where you are in your journey, be really honest. Go and connect with those booking agents or corporates and like Verve agency, for example, or someone like that, and email them with your music or your show reel or whatever it might be, and go, hey, I'm at the start of my journey, but I just want to connect with you, say hi.
And also,
then you move through.
What things should I be bringing to you,
What do you want?
hypothetically, in a year's time or 2 years' time, when I feel like when I feel like I'm developing as an artist, what can I bring to you that help decipher, whether or not I'm ready or not
100%.
to be a part of your agency?
So that's the corporate side.
Yeah.
Hard ticket side. If you can't sell tickets, they're not going to book you.
Yeah.
I think it's the process leading into that is, again, the polish on all of your socials, knowing who your audiences are, developing a really strong catalog that you're able to present in a really great way live.
Yeah.
We've worked with a bunch of artists before an booking agent and leading into that journey, and it takes time, it takes effort, it takes putting yourself out there. I mean, I am not going to highlight, it's consistency. I'm not going to highlight any particular artist on the show, but I will highlight one. I think Mystico, the journey that they've been on.
She's like, I'm not going to highlight many, but I just want to highlight one.
Just because we're working with them month to month, and the way that they're building is so excellent. They're putting out their catalog, they're doing their debut album for themselves. They're not really hoping, I mean, obviously they're hoping to get somewhere with the album, but they really just want to do it for themselves, and their authenticity shines through in the shows. In the music side, and so for the show side, they're very much. I'm going to go to 3 festivals, and they're pounding the pavement, and they're getting them.
Not to mention the fact that they are at every single event,
and they have a full-time job.
Yeah,
the full-time job, business owners.
I don't know how they do it.
They support so many artists too, and then those artists support them back. And of course, they're going to be able to sell tickets to a hard show. That's what booking agents are looking for.
So then the progression for them into a booking agency for hard ticket would be, well, we've sold out a show at the Nightcat. Let's hope
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Good
Let's
luck.
hope they get there. They will.
They will.
But that's leverage to be able to go to a booking agent and say, I can sell tickets.
Yeah.
Now, the difference and the progression to build into a touring act, because being I reckon we should do a whole episode on this, but the progression to be able to go from a local act to a national act to an international act is not linear.
Yeah.
So it's not like you play 500 shows in Melbourne and then you immediately progress to festivals like a level in a PlayStation game.
Yeah.
It's about developing demand for your catalog. Because if we were to take Mystico and sit down with the guys at Frontier and say, we want to get on X festival or X support show, their first question to us will be, how many tickets can you sell in Melbourne, Sydney, Perth, Adelaide, Darwin, and Tassie? And our question will be, our answer will be, we don't know.
Yeah.
And they're going to say, come back when you can sell tickets. Because surprise, surprise, they want to make money.
Yeah, 100%.
So I think for an artist, it's really always going to come back. Like, live doesn't necessarily affect live in development, if that makes sense. So it's always going to come back to developing the catalog and developing the leverage to be able to develop in different parts of the territory.
Yeah.
Using the analogy that we did before. So if the artist is the business, the manager's the CEO, the booking agent is the CFO. Like, they're in charge of building your...
Yeah, great analogy to put it.
Thank you so much. They're in charge of building your financial stability as an artist, basically, because that's where you're going to see the majority of your money come from. And so as an artist, if you're not ready to have that business, if you're only a small business, you don't need that yet. So go out, pound the pavement, email, collaborate, build your live shows in corporate spaces and in support shows, and then build your hard tickets. Put yourself out there, and then as you grow, that CFO will be more needed.
You also don't need a booking agent to tour.
No.
Yeah,
we've put
done
tours together as management before, tours of Canada and tours of North America and all of that kind of stuff without booking agents.
Yeah.
And, all the only difference is there, is a little bit more investment. 9 times out of 10, the artist is probably not going to walk away from their first tour with any money.
But exposure.
Right?
And audience and people that want and content,
And
right?
content.
If you leverage the opportunities to perform
Totally.
and as content, woo,
Yeah.
it's free content.
I think the first 2 or 3 tours with a booking agent or without a booking agent, the reality is the artist is not going to walk away with
They
anything.
barely break even.
But they are going to walk away with a lot more exposure. They're going to walk away with a lot more content
Potential audiences.
and potential audiences
Yeah.
to be able to continue developing on.
I just always like my mentality is do everything until then you can start picking what you can do.
Absolutely.
Totally.
That's me personally, and it's worked out for me. And I still do so many things voluntary because otherwise I'm not going to get booked to do that.
So do we.
No. Yeah,
We're
exactly
exactly
right.
the same.
You know what
We're
I mean?
exactly the same.
And I think that's super important in any of this space is the fact that if you want to do something, don't wait for it to happen. If you really want to do it, go out there and do it.
I think the other thing I think where you get to a point where we're kind of all at a position now where we've developed so far where it's kind of like, it's actually hard to say no to certain things because you need to start saying no. It gets to a point where you need to start saying no.
That's a whole episode in itself. How to say no.
Because we're all at that point now where, some opportunities aren't necessarily right,
Yes.
but we're still doing them. It's
Yes. But you just don't know. It's just about building your portfolio. And I guess we're all learning. And that's the good thing about this podcast too, and the people that we're going to be bringing on is that we don't actually have developed our way to this point, but we're excited to bring people that are still growing to this point and people that are past this point of where we are right now to also learn and have those conversations.
Absolutely. We want to learn. We want to have them on our journey as well. That's one of the biggest things. And hopefully we can have both sides.
Exactly
of the argument. But I think that just building an artist team, I think the last one is the COO of the business, and artists always ask us this: how do I get a label on board? Because they want money to be funneled into their project. And I
we
think
say don't get a distributor.
we were thinking maybe, we not a lot of artists need a label.
Get a part-time job to help fund it instead.
Yeah. Oh goodness gracious.
I think we should do a whole episode
on the label, but I think it's important to touch on that if you're building an artist team, they're mainly the 3 delegations that you would have, but that it comes after lots and lots of catalog.
Yeah.
Get a distributor.
What is the point of your, for those that are listening, COO, what is that?
So a chief operating officer and
And then as a label,
basically-
so then basically what would be that ultimate goal for the label?
So the ultimate goal for the label is to make money on the artist, but also to get the artists as big as they can be through their catalog of music. So they would put them into opportunities. A lot of artists want labels because they put them into songwriting collaborations. They funnel money in for music videos. They allow artists to have a better connection with their DSPs, the Spotify, Apple, because they have inbuilt connections with their distribution teams. They give you opportunities internationally.
Yep.
The thing is, with labels, it's very difficult to break through. There is not, in my opinion, going to be an artist like Taylor Swift again. It's just not something that social media is going to allow to happen, 100%. Which is a great thing because independent artists can be as competitive and collaborative as they can be. It's not just one pop star that's going to rule them all in 10, 20 years to come is what I believe, just in the way that it's going. And I think that because of that surge in your own resources for independent artists, and because artists don't actually want to be giving their money across to labels and their time across to labels anymore, it becomes it's going to open the doors for new and creative music. And I think that because of this, labels are being more choosy with who they bring on board. And for artists, they're still in a mindset where they're like, well, I need a label to grow. And that's just not the case. Find a good distributor and you can go from there.
I think when we talk about building artist teams, generally the first place I say to an artist, you need some help, is a distributor.
Yeah.
First step, because...
And why?
They have direct access to the stores that our audiences are on.
The digital stores.
The DSPs.
Yeah.
Right. So, a manager is great. They don't have direct connection to your audience. Your audience is going to, invest in the project and help develop that project, where the manager's going to come in later.
And the manager's the handshaker. Really, at the end of the day, they're the people that are going to be like, there you go.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Let's do the deal.
Yeah.
And I think too, a label is great. For me, from what I've seen from independent artists, I think a label, the right time to get a label is when you're starting to get so booked that you can't do the groundwork anymore. So like when you stop, when you can't physically get yourself into opportunity anymore, because you're starting to get so much opportunity, I think that's where you start to make those connections.
Totally.
I think it's important to distinguish the different types of labels too.
Yeah.
So you've obviously got your independent labels, which are guys that aren't backed by a major system, so a major conglomerate.
Yeah.
Though most of independent labels are just acting as a distributor essentially.
Yeah.
They have the resources and the knowledge as well. I mean, One Love Music Group is an independent label as well, and they're the ones that offer resources and opportunity for the artists as well.
And then obviously you've got your majors like your Sonys, BMGs, Warner, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And those guys, you know, they have internal distribution, but then they have a lot of money behind them.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the difference. But when you are the difference between the two is when you're within an indie, you have slightly more control. When you're in a major, you're a part of a machine.
Yeah.
And that's very different.
And I reckon it'd probably be worth bringing on a good friend, Aiden at one point to have a chat about that process too, because I think he will have lots to say, and I think he's a prime example of, you know, being the hottest thing in all of Australia, but then having the challenges of having a label be a part of that process and a manager, and being absolutely torn between those two. And I think that will be a great point of conversation.
At a point where maybe he wasn't ready or didn't have enough resources, I think as well, it would be a really nice way
because there's pros and cons.
Involved. It absolutely is.
Oh, like
and
him especially.
he grew. I mean, it's not as if they didn't grow him. I think it was just, I mean, he can tell his own story. But I mean, I'm sure he would agree that maybe it wasn't the right time for him.
There's so many cases. There's so many cases, and I'm not talking about.
I think I have to bring a few people to have this conversation.
Like a table read. But there's so many cases of managers and labels fumbling the ball.
Yeah, like waiting.
Just on shit that does not matter.
100%.
You know, you're talking guys that are selling out bloody, 3,000 cap rooms. Like, keep fucking going. Don't stop.
Just go.
I think, so I think it's really important that, artists are always in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
What majors don't do is they don't allow the artist to be in the driver's seat. And as much as an independent or a distro, they are getting a lot better
because of the fastness of everything.
And I think they're learning to pivot,
But it's always going to be a slow process.
Yeah.
It's going to be people like us that are a little bit more disruptive.
Yeah.
Not that we're coming in and changing.
We are
changing the whole thing, or we're trying to. But it's going to be people like us that go, that pave the way. Like, it's never been easier to go direct to Benny as a listener.
No. And the thing is, those labels sit there and go, oh, what do you guys know? Well, the thing is, we're the people that are actually hearing the grunt of these frustrations from artists, from independent artists. And we're hearing this and going, well, how can we create enough noise to be able to then be like, guys, make change. So in summary, if we had to go over again, building that artist toolkit, what are those things that an artist need to have while they're building their toolkit and their team around them?
Back catalogue, number one.
Yep.
So actual music, whether it's finished, whether it's not finished, but just an idea of where they want to go creatively.
Yep.
That's always going to be number one. Number two, a solid brand.
And authenticity and being able to have those pillars.
So the pillars would be number two. And then developing process around around communicating that to an audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why am I stuttering?
That's all right, because you're so passionate.
I'm so passionate about it. Love it.
And I think that's really important. And my biggest takeaway from this conversation is the fact that the artist has to be in the driver's seat. And 100%. As an artist, you have to want, and you have to be able to financially back and invest and know your worth and
do the hard work.
And that's really important.
It's gonna be a game changer. I know it's just so that is the only thing that is important. It's what's gonna separate the people who want to get there and the people who don't.
And the question is, are you that person?
Can you hack it?
Can you hack it? What a great episode, guys. Thank you very much.
Good.
You can keep up to date with everything on the Record Straight podcast on our social media platforms, BG Community and, of course, Cartel.Australia on Instagram and the Facebook. Plenty of free assets on both accounts. Of course, make sure you head to these guys' blogs. Every month you put one up, is that right?
Yeah, so first working day of every month it goes out to our email list.
Yeah.
And then it gets
website.
On the website as well and on my LinkedIn.
And it is
subtle flex.
And there is so much information for artists, not just from us, from every community around Melbourne.
Absolutely.
We hope you enjoyed listening to the podcast today, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you, guys.
Goodbye.
Ciao, ciao.